Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and this is my performance review of the Nike Air Deldon. So this shoe is going for 120 bucks, and this colorway is available, and there's also kind of like a black and white colorway. So if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave the affiliate link in the description box. But let's get it started off with the tracciones, and the traction pattern is pretty weird. It's like a kind of like a wavy herringbone traction pattern, kind of, but then like where the ball of your foot is, it kind of like swirls around a little bit, right? Also in this color we have like this green volt color, and then here in the midfoot it's an exposed foam, right? So how is the traction? It's bad. It's really bad. So if you're playing on a clean court, okay, so first of all, actually you have to break it in. You do have to break it in for a couple of days, because at first it was actually really bad, and then they refinished my court, right? So it was actually really clean. They had a new surface there. They sanded it all down and put a new finish, right? So I was playing on a really clean court, and honestly it was pretty good. You know, I had a pretty solid bite, but it wasn't top tier. And then, you know, it started to get dirty again, you know what I mean? Because they just never clean it. And you guys see all this dust, right? You see all that freaking dirt and dust that builds up on this? It's really freaking hard to wipe off the dust. Like, you really have to get in there and wipe very hard. And once you do that, then you get a couple of good stops again, but it picks up dust pretty quickly, right? So if you're playing on a dusty court, do not get the shoe. If you're playing on a clean court, you should be fine, but it's not the best bite. And also, if you're playing on an outdoor court, probably not the best option, right? The grooves are kind of thin, and the grooves are deep though, but then the rubber is also kind of soft, you know, just moving it with my fingers. So I don't think it'll be a great option for outdoor use. So yeah, the traction was very lackluster, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't like this shoe. And of course, traction is very important to me personally, because I don't want to be sliding around when I'm playing it. Like, everything can be good about the shoe, and if the traction's bad, then I don't like it, right? And if the traction is top tier, really good, and everything else about that shoe is like pretty okay, then I probably like that shoe better than the shoe that has really bad traction, right? But anyways, there's a traction there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, it's all right, right? So here in the heel, we have just a tiny bit of a curve shape. Look at this. But for the most part, this foam is actually kind of soft, so there is good compression here in the heel, so it doesn't feel too bad here in the heel. And then in the forefoot, we have a nice curve shape. Honestly, just a little bit, and then we have a good amount of forefoot flex. So overall, heel to toe transition is pretty smooth. And now moving on to the cushioning setup, which is my favorite part about this shoe, right? So we have full length foam. It just says foam. I'm guessing it's like Cushlon or something, because it's really soft. It doesn't feel like Phylon, right? And then also we have a full length Air Strobel unit, which is really nice. In my personal opinion, I love it. It's super comfortable. There's a good amount of compression, but it's not too much. You know, like when you're walking around for a couple of hours in like a full length Zoom Strobel unit, it gets a little crazy, you know what I mean? Also, it hurts my foot a little bit, but in a full-length Air Strobel unit, I could walk around all day in it and feels really nice, because there's not a lot of pressure, you know what I mean? Like Zoom Strobel has a good amount of PSI, like air pressure in there. I feel like Air Strobel has a little bit less. Maybe that's why, I don't know. So when you're walking around, it's comfortable, there's nice compression, but when you start running and like sprinting and actually playing, there's a little bit of bounce, you know what I mean? Because your foot is compressing the air and it's making it a little bit bouncier, so that feels really nice. And also there is a forefoot zoom unit underneath that Air Strobel unit, so I do feel a little bit of bounce, right? When I compress the Air Strobel unit in the forefoot, and then once it does that, it digs into the zoom unit in the forefoot, which feels nice and bouncy. There's nice compression and all that. It's pretty much the same exact setup as the Zion one, but with kind of like softer foam. Court feel is still pretty good. Impact protection is great. You get nice compression, nice step in comfort, and bounce, especially in the forefoot. So this is a really nice cushioning setup, and I feel like most people will enjoy it as I have, right? Now moving on to the materials. The materials are so crappy. It's one of the worst quality materials I've ever felt, like pretty much ever, honestly. Like, it's 120 bucks, you know what I mean? And I would much rather have like the material, like the textile material in the PG6. But anyways, it's like this, like, I don't know what it is. It's like a really crappy felt material. It doesn't even feel like felt, but it has a little bit of like fuzz to it. It just feels really cheap, right? But it feels nice on foot, surprisingly, because it's really soft, right? It conforms to your foot very well, and it is relatively thin, and there's no pinching or anything. You don't need to break it in, so that's nice. But the quality is just really bad. Not even here, just in the forefoot, also going throughout the entire upper, you know what I mean? So that definitely does suck. We got some rope laces, and also for the tongue, we have a good amount of padding, which feels nice and cozy. And then here in the ankle area, we have a nice bit of padding as well, so that feels nice. So on foot, it feels great, but for 120 bucks, I definitely feel like they should have given us better quality materials. Yeah, don't expect too much from the material quality, right? All right, moving on to the fit. I went true to size and fits me very, very well, but it runs pretty narrow, right? So my toes go right to the edge of the shoe, which feels great. But look at this. Look at how freaking narrow it goes into a point. You know what I mean? So it wasn't terrible, but it definitely is a narrow fit. I like a snug fit, so it wasn't bad for me. But if you don't like that, this probably isn't the best option. And then also here in the toe box, it's a nice fit for me. It's not super snug or anything. I wish it was a little bit more snug and a little bit more tight, but honestly, it's not that bad. Also, let's go over the Fly-E system, right? So we have kind of like a hands-free, you know, lacing system kind of, but it's not great. It's kind of gimmicky, honestly, for me. So of course we have two Velcros right here, right? So we have one on the lateral side and one on the medial side, and this is all one piece, right? It's connected to the laces, right? So you just take this part out and then kind of flip open the tongue, and then you put your foot in right here, and this plastic piece collapses, it kind of goes down, and you slide your foot in, right? But when you put it on for the first time, you want to tighten up the laces pretty tightly, right? Because you want to have a nice snug fit. But once you do that, it gets kind of hard to put on, right? And then it also loosens up, you know what I mean? So honestly, like kind of defeats the purpose, because once you like unvelcro it and then take your foot out and you put it back in, it kind of loosens up. You can't really tighten it as much as you did on the first time, right? And also you can't really tighten it as much as laces, because it's just this Velcro, right? And you can only tighten it like this so much, right? So I always found myself kind of like going back and lacing it up a little bit tighter, just because I like to have a really tight fit, right? If you don't care about that all too much, then I guess this is a pretty great system, but I feel like most people want more of a snug and tight fit, you know what I mean? So it's a little gimmicky, which kind of sucks, because honestly, it's a pretty cool system. I mean, it definitely does work, right? But it doesn't work very, very well. You know what I mean? So there's that. Moving on to the support and lockdown is really, really good, right? So here in the forefoot, as you guys can see, we have the rubber outsole coming up, acting as a sidewall here in the forefoot. Here in the midfoot, we have this plastic swoosh. And then here in the heel, we actually don't have a heel counter, which is kind of weird, but we have this plastic piece acting as kind of like an external heel counter. So lateral containment was good. My foot wasn't coming out of the footbed. And also lateral stability, I didn't really have any huge issues with, even though this is quite a narrow shoe. Look at that. There's a little bit of an outrigger, but I didn't really have any problems with lateral instability. And also ankle support was pretty good. But the only time I had good ankle support was when I tightened up the laces a lot. You know what I mean? So once I put on the shoe and then tighten up the Velcro, it still felt a little loose. So I always had to tighten up the laces again. So yeah, that kind of does suck, but ankle support is pretty good in this shoe. Moving on to the weight of the shoe. It's actually quite light feeling. Guessing like 11, 12? Yeah, 11.96 ounces, so basically 12 ounces. Let's check the other pair. 11.92 ounces, so yeah. 12 ounces, it's lighter than average and feels pretty damn light on foot, but also kind of cozy because of the foam here in the tongue and ankle area. But you don't feel quick when you're playing in it, or at least I didn't, because the traction just wasn't that good. I was sliding around actually a good amount. So because of that, I didn't like playing in it, but everything else felt really good. You know, the fit was great, support was great, cushion was great, just the traction was very lackluster for me. Moving on to the ventilation, nope. There's really no airflow through this material. It is kind of thin, but honestly, it's on the warmer side of things, especially since it's a high top. It kind of goes over your ankle bone as well. So ventilation, not the best. Moving on to the aesthetics, it's all right. I don't know. I kind of liked it at first, but then like it kind of ungrew on me. Is that a thing? I don't know. But I don't really like how it looks all too much anymore. But you know, tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, besides the kind of gimmicky lacing system, it's an overall really nice shoe, but I don't like playing in it because of the traction. Unfortunately, I'm very sad about that. You know, if the traction was really good, like PG6 or KD15, this would have been an amazing shoe because I love the cushioning setup. Fit was great, support was good, and all that. So it's lightweight overall. Yeah, that definitely is a bummer, and that does kind of make me sad. But like, I guess, you know, if you're playing on an immaculate court, really clean court, then you should be fine. But if you're playing on a dusty court at all, even if it has a little bit of dust, then you probably shouldn't get this shoe because of the traction on dust was not good. But anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Air Deldon. Again, if you guys don't want to cop, I try to leave an affiliate link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.